now watching J.Ü.K Sports Show. I'm your host, King Ralph, here with the homie Kai.
What up?
How you feeling, Brody?
I'm feeling great, man. It's another day to be alive and feel blessed and talk about some sports, man. How about yourself?
Oh man, it's been a good day. Got stuck in traffic for a minute, but it's all right. It
Like,
happens.
where's Waldo? He's like, where's Ralph?
You can't drive, man. It's some wild accidents out there. So everybody out there, be safe and show y'all. Don't text and drive. Don't drink and drive. Stay cool. But we're gonna jump right into it, man. Ben Simmons, man. There's been a lot of talk about my man's. Me and the homie Trey had a conversation as far as whether or not the Bulls should try to go after him. As far as him in Philly.
Right.
Should we still be trusting the process?
Hell no. All right. All right. Let's just dive into it. So should we still be trusting the process? I don't believe that the Philadelphia 76ers should still be trusting the process with Ben Simmons for the following reasons. First and foremost, he's a liability in half-court offensive sets due to his lack of having the outside perimeter jump shot, right? And so when we look at that and we see, does that cripple them in the playoffs? In the last 3 seasons, it really has. For him, it's he possesses no confidence to shoot the basketball from the perimeter, and he looks scared out there. So he's not – they'd say he's best with the ball in his hands, but then you can't use him in the fourth quarters, right? So he's not be able to shoot. And then when he gets to the line, he can't hit free throws, right? So he's a liability at the free throw line. Like, it's crazy. I think at one point he didn't he go like 1 for 14 or 3 for 14 and at the free throw line? That's insane. So for me personally, Ralph, kind of like what I've talked to you on the side about Ben Simmons, at the end of the day, I think he needs a change of scenery, and I think he needs a change of position. The reason why I say change of position is because despite the lack of shooting, there are some things that he does well. He's a good defender, very versatile, and he can play make. The two possible positions, I could see him at power forward because he played power forward at LSU, and a small ball center on another team, because if you're a point guard and you have switches, you don't want to see Ben Simmons on the switch, right? And he's a good defender, and he's very athletic. So he's going to possess athletic ability that some other centers in the league don't possess. You know what I'm saying? So I think those are the best options for him, and I think they should move forward with Joel Embiid if they decide to trade Ben Simmons and bring in a point guard like a Kyle Lowry who's from Philadelphia, and maybe even try to figure out if they could trade for a CJ McCollum or maybe even a Damian Lillard. They have pieces in Thibault, Maxey, some picks, some draft assets. So that's where I feel on that, man.
And me, myself, man, I think that I don't think he has to leave. I do understand where people are coming from, where it's like he needs a change of scenery. But his press conference after the game, he brought up some pretty. He faced the fire. He took the questions head on. He didn't run from the questions or try to make up excuses. He brought up the fact that he didn't play well. I shot terrible from the free throw line. I wasn't aggressive, and I didn't help my team. So I do think that with those comments, it kind of left, like, if I was a Philly fan, one, he's only 25, and two, when you come bring that into it, now you got a full entire, unless he goes to play his Olympic basketball. Like, he has a full offseason to work on his game. And even it's been shown that a lot of players that go and play Olympic basketball, how much it helps their game for the next season.
Yeah.
And with that competition, the competition level, you going in, being able to be the star on someone else's team and really be able to, like, get your rhythm going and see what works and what doesn't work as far as your game and applying it to your NBA game. So I think that, like, I don't think it's a surefire thing they're going to trade him. I wouldn't be surprised if he's playing for them next season. I would like to see. I don't think that this loss is solely on him. Some of it has to do with the partial meniscus tear and Joel Embiid's knee, not being able to be in shape to play a 48-minute basketball game where he's dying out. You can see he's doing jab step, but then when he fades, he's doing a one-leg fader. You can tell he's laboring with that knee and trying to go away from the knee instead of being aggressive like he was before. Rotations, like Game 7, Seth is hitting off offensively, but on the defensive end, he's getting cooked. So you either need to switch him off of that person, or Ben Milton was proving to be effective in those minutes, especially on the defensive end.
Most definitely.
And so I do think that Doc Rivers got to take some of this blame. Joel and Ben not being aggressive, like him going 3 for 3 in the fourth quarter of 7 basketball games. He made all of them. He only took spots.
Right.
So like, with a lot of those things, man. I mean, he's young. Me and the homie were talking about would we take him on the Bulls, and I was like, yes, I would. Like in a perfect world, I think that moving him to 3 or 4 is what he should be playing. Especially when it comes to he's not a great shooter, as we've everybody knows. So why would and he's not uber aggressive. The difference between him and Giannis bringing the ball up the court still works because even when his jumper is not falling, he's still attacking.
Right.
Where when Ben gets in his head, he stops being aggressive.
He just becomes constantly passive, or he just kind of disappears in the game. Right.
And then so with that, I do think that you got to get the ball out of his hands.
Right.
Put him in some pick and roll opportunity. We're there after that first pass. Now he's the playmaker in the middle of the court at the free throw line instead of standing at the top of the key.
Yeah, I agree.
And so I do think I would like to see him go somewhere like that. I'm gonna save the whole Bulls thing for a whole nother conversation itself on who we should get, but I can see him working with that type of team.
Okay.
You take out Laurie and put him in that 4 spot instead of Ben.
Gotcha.
So where you have a scoring point guard, you have a closer and a scorer in Zach, or a 2 in your 2 spot, where your 3 or 4, whichever one is he's playing, they're more of a 3 and D, and then you have an attack where you could have a Joel Embiid or a Vucevic at 5 who can navigate within their 3-level scorer.
Who would you? Oh, I was gonna say who do you think they could trade to acquire him? I was just kind of thinking that would be kind of good. The
way that would work is if we got our pick. So tonight, if for the people that don't know, in 15 minutes they will be doing the draft. I'm actually got my tablet right here ready to see what the draft lottery is going to be. If our pick is in the top 4 pick, we keep our pick. If not, it goes to the Magic. So the only way I can see that happening without having to give up too much is I can see a Kobe White going there, like Kobe White, Laurie, and the draft pick.
Okay.
I don't think that's doing too much. I would like to keep Kobe.
Right.
So I would try to throw in Troy Brown, Zadaransky, so you can get at least a playmaker or a point guard back for the point guard you're giving us, in a sense. Switch position. Then try to get a veteran point guard or draft a young point guard. And go from there. Like I just think that could work. Not that I think that I'm 100% sure of him going to the Bulls, but I just think that they have the scenario that best fits Ben Simmons' talent I think it would help his career by going there.
Right. Okay. I like that. Plus, you surround him, with, some guys, around his age. Because Zach LaVine's there. And it's funny you mentioned the Bulls because I had previously in the past, I've always said that I could see Zach LaVine at one point being in Philadelphia because he had said he wanted to be with a pass first point guard and a dominant big man, at center. So I actually don't have an issue with that at all.
And I just don't see Zach leaving no time soon. As much as people are trying to say, well, he would be a great fit here, he would be a great fit there. He's come out and said things that he wanted. Well, he wanted a 2010 big man. He got one. And we just got a new executive. So I feel like Zach is going to at least give him an opportunity to show, hey, I can build a team around you. Mm-hmm. Look at what I did for Denver. I can do the same for you. Just give me some time. So I think that Zach is going – because honestly, we would be in the playoffs. We would have made the playoffs had Zach not gone out for 2-3 weeks. I think it was 3 weeks. In the middle, because we were in the 8th spot at one point, and then we dropped all the way down to 11 because Zach got COVID.
Yeah.
I think a lot of it boils down to just opportunity, health reasons, and things like that, and things falling your way. Hopefully, the lottery ball drops in our favor at this point. But
yeah, the Bulls need some good luck.
Right. And so it's been an interesting playoffs this year. Most of what most people would say is the top 5 players in the league. We've had a lot of injuries, people losing. Kawhi Leonard out, LeBron James out, Anthony Davis out, KD just losing in Game 7. James Harden, Kyrie out with injuries. So now we've gotten to see some of our players. At first, I originally brought up this topic of having a conversation of what non-superstar has impressed you the most. But then I'll just put this too, is who has been the MVP of the playoffs for you?
All right. The MVP of the 2021 NBA playoffs has been Ice Trae. I have to say Ice Trae because one, I actually put him on my 25, like my 25 and under all time, like not I don't want to say all time team, but like kind of like rising star team as the point guard of the team. And one of my homies was like, yeah, why is Luka not there? And I was like, well, because I said Trae Young's a better shooter and he has off ball movement. And I was looking at the team that he's on, things of that nature. There's certain things he does on the court that I actually value more than Luka. That doesn't mean that he's going to be better than Luka, but right now he's actually playing better than Steph Curry did at Steph Curry's age. But in the playoffs, as it pertains to the playoffs, you're talking about a team that nobody even projected to even do anything really this year like that in the Atlanta Hawks. Like, yeah, they were a good offense, right? But, defensively, there was some issues there. But they wound up having Clint Capella. So Clint Capella has been a good piece of them. DeAndre Hunter gets injured, right? And you're talking about a team where everybody was projecting the Brooklyn Nets to make the NBA Finals, to be the prohibitive favorites to be the NBA champion this year. And then if it wasn't them, you had people saying the Bucks. Then if it wasn't them, you had people saying Philly. Now Philly is eliminated, right? By the Atlanta Hawks, okay? And so Trae Young has been a model of excellence throughout these entire playoffs, with the exception about maybe like 1 or 2 games, right? Where I look at a team like the Clippers, and Kawhi Leonard's my favorite player, and he was playing spectacular. But, Paul George really stepped up, and we're starting to see the Indiana Paul George. Devin Booker had CP3, who played amazing, right? And then he winds up going out with COVID, and Devin Booker had a 40-point triple-double, okay? And then Luka Doncic, obviously, he wasn't able to get his team to the second round. And once again, for another year in a row, the Utah Jazz, 3 straight years in a row, they haven't done anything. So I'm looking at Trae Young, and I like to go off of success as well. And his team is good, but it's not great, and it's not excellent. So I think the fact that due to the lack thereof of expectations for Atlanta, and them being an impoverished franchise for so long, and for you to draft a guy in Trae Young, and Trae Young's like, no, I'm here and I'm here now. My time is now. And Milwaukee better not mess around, Ralph, because the Atlanta Hawks, they get hot really quickly. And if they suck the Bucks into shooting threes and going away from their post game and things of that nature, then we could be looking at the Atlanta Hawks as potentially being in the NBA Finals. And so I kind of have to factor that into my MVP of the playoffs, because if the Hawks wind up in the NBA Finals, do you know how many people when we were doing our preseason rankings and preseason picks for NBA, like no one's picking the Hawks, man. The only other team, honestly, bro, is like the New York Knicks. Like the New York Knicks had no expectation. Like Elfrid Payton was left for dead. Like they were ready to move off of him. They brought your boy Taj Gibson. They were bringing older guys back, older vets. So the Atlanta Hawks, just based off of the lack thereof of expectation and what Trae Young's been doing, I think he's been the MVP of the playoffs so far. So, but yeah, there's a lot of good, I think, great performers. Not even good, just great performers like KD. So that's my pick, Ice Trae. So, yeah.
And man, when I started doing mine, I was thinking about. I thought long and hard. I ain't gonna lie.
Yeah.
A part of me wanted to argue KD, but then I also wanted to give some time to some people that. Because I just recently seen, I was watching earlier today, I was watching Shannon Sharp go in, and I was just like, my issue with people with stuff like that when it comes to the criticism of Kevin Durant is that you're immediately getting butthurt because you criticize LeBron.
Right.
And it's like the things we criticize LeBron for, we don't criticize LeBron because he lost. It's the way he loses.
Yeah.
It's not like this past year with the Lakers. And if losing to the Suns. The last two games, you could tell with 4 minutes left in both games, this man checked out.
Yep, mentally checked out. Seen it before.
Mentally checked out, was walking back up court, not hustling back on D, not even really trying to score. If he doesn't get his layup, then he's trying to argue with the referee. And it's like with me, it just leaves a bad taste in your mouth when it comes to, if this person is supposed to be your GOAT, then I should see him going out guns a-blazing.
Yeah.
And then it's like, all right, well, Kevin Durant, then when you frame stuff without context, it's like Kevin Durant went 0 for 6 in the overtime. I was like, yeah, but did you bring up how he played every minute of that game?
Right. That was the same. Not only that, he played every minute of the game, and remember, they went back to almost like remember when the NBA playoffs used to be 5 games in the first round? That was the type of scheduling that KD and some of these other teams were enduring. So that's, to your point, continue. I thought that was amazing, and that doesn't get talked about as much, the lack there of rest in between the games. You know what I'm saying? So,
right. Yeah. They're playing every other day. In game 5 and 7, he plays every minute. Gives you 48 in one game, 49 in the other.
Yeah.
And it's like, for you to sit there and try to say, well, he still lost, and if we go to criticize, it's the first of all, although this Bucks team might not be a super team,
right,
they're still a really good team. You got Brooke, who can kill you inside and outside. Then you got Giannis, who's just the Greek. What the name speaks for itself. Then you got Chris Middleton, Drew Holiday, and then you got a slew of people that you can bring in off the bench after that point. DiVincenzo got hurt. Brent Forbes coming in, and he could potentially go. I could eventually see, he's such a good shooter, I could see him being 40, 50, 90. That's just the potential of just his straight shooting ability that he has. Yeah. PJ Tucker, who's going to hit the corner 3 and play really good, tough defense. You're going to have to fight him for as long as he's on the court. That's how long you're going to have to fight him for. So it's not like they got a bunch of scrubs on this team and then he just lost to them. And it's like, bro, like for you, the things that – so I'm not going to go too hard on the KD thing, but I just don't like the negative criticism because I'm like, if he had my shoe size, they'd be in game – they would be playing the Hawks game 1.
Facts. And it's keeping the same energy. That's all we ask. That's all we ask. And KD himself had never called himself the GOAT. Kawhi never called himself the GOAT. Embiid never called himself the GOAT. So for much is given or much is required, or you're putting extra pressure, extra expectation on yourself. You're a guy like LeBron. I'm not trying to make this just solely about him, but but it kind of goes back to the criticisms of certain players, and what KD did was amazing. And I'm sure we'll get to that, but yeah. So I definitely understand where you're coming from on that, and I feel like all those points and sentiments are valid, right? So I have no issue with that for sure.
Because I just looked at it. So the 5 players, I don't know. I think I eventually got to 6.
Okay.
But I had KD, PG, Devin Booker. I looked at Giannis, Middleton, and then Embiid. Not that I'm overlooking what Trey is doing.
Yeah.
I just think that when you go into something, so this is why I'm gonna have Devin Booker, and I'm gonna use Devin Booker and Trey going into it. Both of them are their first what's it called? Playoff experience.
Playoff, yeah.
And so, but going into it, where the Hawks were expected to go, especially where the Suns are expected to go.
Yeah.
Nobody's feeling bad for them that they don't have Chris Paul. They're still expecting the Suns to get to a certain level.
Right.
Especially now with no LeBron, no Kawhi, no Donovan, no Gobert. So now you have a Clippers-led PG team, and the Suns who are led by Devin Booker. Most people don't trust PG, although they've never seen Devin Booker in the playoffs till now.
Right.
So they're gonna go with the Suns. So the expectation level is up here. Where Trey, up until they started winning those games against the Suns, nobody was looking at them. You playing with house money. And it's like I don't have any expectation. Although I'm playing in the Garden and the Garden hates me, I still have an expectation that I'm supposed to be meeting.
Yeah.
You're expecting me to lose, so I'm playing with house money. I don't have any pressure on my shoulder. The pressure's on the Knicks. The pressure's on the Sixers. The pressure's on the Bucks.
Yeah.
So it's like I do think that it's a certain when you have the pressure is on you to perform. All right. Now you're in your first Western Conference Finals. I know you're playing the Clippers, but that same Clippers team just beat the number 1 team in the whole NBA.
Yeah. And they came back from like 35 down.
Right. So that same team beat them. Although they're missing their best player, you're missing yours. I'm still expecting you to go out there and ball.
Right.
Then what you do, 40-point triple-double in the Western Conference game. And so I do think that, especially with he's playing 11 games, he's played 443 minutes, which is more minutes than Giannis, more minutes than Middleton, and it's for like pretty much 1 game less than Kevin Durant, which is how many minutes he played.
Right.
Kevin Durant has played 2 whole games, maybe even more than that. I just know that 2 out of the last 3 games he played the whole game, and then in Game 6 he played majority of it. And so those minutes, then you got to look at his scoring total, 320 points, which doesn't really put him at high a clip because he's had some games where it's been in the teens. But when it matters the most, closeout games, 30 point, 40 points. Game 1, we need you to ball out, 40-point triple-double. So I do think that in these moments he's showing, and I know some people don't really care about the plus-minus thing, but his plus-minus is 93, which is triple what KD's was, double what Paul is. And you know the crazy thing about, you know who has the highest plus-minus?
Reggie Jackson? No. Hey.
Batum.
Batum. Wait, for the series or for the playoffs?
For the playoffs.
Wow. That's some stats right there.
Yeah. Batum has a plus-minus of 133. Joel Embiid's was 121. And you know, surprisingly, Ben Simmons was his was higher than Devin Booker's.
Wow. Yeah, but Batum's been a nice glue guy and a utility player who can defend. He's getting an occasional 3-point shot. And so I want to even though I picked them to win the Western Conference, I still need to issue my apologies to one Nicholas Batum, because I considered him slow as a sloth. And at one point early in the season, I was like, why did they even pick him up? Because I figured that they were picking up for what they thought he would or could be. And I thought that he was no longer going to be that anymore. And I've been proven wrong. So shout out to Nicholas Batum. You got all love over here by me and the homie over here. So yeah, shout out to you. But yeah, that's a great thing. I'm gonna call you Next Gen, man. That's your nickname. To pull up something like Batum, man, like that. Wow, that was impressive.
When I was sitting there looking at it, I was like, dang, David Booker was 93. I was just like, damn, Joel Embiid, the smart shit they talked about him, his was 121.
Yeah.
I was like, let me see who had the highest one. And Ben Simmons was right below him.
Mm-hmm.
And Reggie Jackson's was pretty high. Yeah. And Batum's was like the highest at 130, 133.
Okay. And also you got to think about the negative plays, and he doesn't make any type of negative. Well, I should say he doesn't make any type of. He has, but he makes, what's that word? Calculated smart plays in the basket.
Right.
He rather pass up a three,
right,
a contested three, than try to shoot the contested three.
So, right.
Yeah, but that's and I like the way that you really made that argument, because I always say anything in life. What's my saying? Anything in life can be argued for or against. It's just how strong that argument was. And I like how you took it from you maneuvered it more from less than use the expectations, but you use it in a different way where teams that are expected, you know what I'm saying, and players and stuff like that. So I actually like what you said with the Devin Booker thing, but I actually think he's the best player and Chris Paul's the most valuable in that team. So I'm gonna switch it. Yeah,
I do think he is the best player. I do think Chris Paul is the most valuable. I do think at the same time he's showing where going into the season, a lot of people were wondering, could he lead a team to a championship?
Yeah.
And with him being, now you have to be the most valuable as well as the best player, and he's showing as of right now. We'll see how long they play without Chris and how far they go into it. So with this next one, what is the most intriguing finals matchup to you? Potential finals
intriguing? Matchup. Yeah. Oh man, intriguing. Right. So yeah. So when we say intriguing, right? Intriguing, I think of like interesting, right? So I'm gonna be honest, like my matchup's already blown up in the air because I had the Nets and the Clippers, KD versus Kawhi. Okay. So now that is completely rendered done, right? And the 76ers are out, man. The 76ers are out.
Okay? Never saw that.
Like, let's think about this. The 76ers are out. We only have 4 teams left, won't we?
Right.
You know, and that's kind of a rhetorical question. Like, I know we have 4 teams left, bro. But I think the more like if you just talking about mano, Giannis and Kawhi, we had that in the Eastern Conference Finals. I think getting Giannis's revenge, potentially against, him, Paul George finally playing in his first NBA championship, I think that would be cool. But I actually, when you really think about it, I think it really is, bro, honestly, the Suns and the Atlanta Hawks. Now, I'm not saying it somber because, I think it would be bad. Because actually, if we're being real, I think there's a heavy amount of the NBA fan base, especially when I go to like NBA Reddit and Twitter, that really want to see it. One is because they don't like Giannis. Let's be real. There's people that don't like Giannis for no reason except for, he's not skilled. You know what I'm saying? And then they don't like the Clippers at all. So they don't care what they do, man. They're like, LeBron was the reason Ty Lue did anything. Screw Kawhi. He don't talk. You got hurt Laker fans that he didn't go to the Lakers. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not going to sit up here and cap, right? You know what I'm saying? Like, that's my favorite player. But I'm not going to sit up here and cap and just be like, oh, yeah, the Bucks and the Clippers. Nah, I think that would be, and no disrespect to the teams they're playing, because especially I think the Clippers do need Kawhi back. But if they lose to the Suns. But I think I'm not going to sit up here and cap for me and not say the Suns and the Hawks. I actually think anytime you have 2 teams that weren't expected to be there, you know what I'm saying? Like, there was some people I'm sure that might have thought the Suns would be contenders, but 2 teams that no one was expected to be there. Chris Paul, his legacy, his pursuit of a ring, his first ever championship ring at the age of 36 years old. I think that would be spectacular. I know a lot of people, a lot of homies that we have are pulling for Chris Paul. So I think that would be cool. And Ice Trey has a chance to, add on to his young legacy if he gets there. You know what I'm saying? So I think when you have a young up and coming point guard and you have a cerebral, solidified veteran, future Hall of Famer, first ballot point guard, and Chris Paul, who's just been devoid of a ring. He has everything else, right? He has all defensive teams. He has assists. He has all that. He has scoring, but he doesn't have the ultimate prize, which is an NBA championship. And the competitor that he is. And we always thought, hey, he could have got one if the late, great Kobe Bryant was around and that trade never got vetoed. I'm going to sit up here and say that I believe that the Phoenix Suns versus the Atlanta Hawks would be the most intriguing finals matchup to me. So that's what I got.
I think for the storylines, I think the Clippers, for the sake of history, I think that better for the Suns to win.
Yeah.
With how many times that they have
small market too.
Far, Charles Barkley losing to the Bulls. Steve Nash hit check by Rory and Damon, not Damon, but Amari Stoudemire runs out, steps on the court, doesn't even really do anything, and is suspended. Where a lot of people felt like the Suns were going to go on to win that series and go to their first finals as that unit. And so with Chris Paul, one, trying to get to his first final, two, people calling him old, slow, and he lost a step, being able to be that most valuable player on this team and get them to this level alongside a Devin Booker. DeAndre Ayton is showing why he was taken with the first pick overall. Mikal Bridges, campaign coming off the bench. Cameron Johnson coming off the bench, and it's just a slew of veterans mixed with young talent. I think from them getting there, and I think it would probably be best suited for Giannis to get to his first.
Oh yeah,
because then at the same time, like I know we sit here, and maybe I'm the main person people are talking about when it comes to counting out the Hawks. I just don't see the issues, the things that they've gone up against. Those teams had certain mental issues and things like that, where the Bucks have shown this year that ain't the year for them to be having mental issues. Because if they would have had them, they would have already done it already.
Right.
Especially with KD coming back and Giannis had an opportunity to tie that game up and drops a dime, they go on to lose. Where even with KD going off for 49, 17, and 12, Giannis still had an opportunity to win that game.
Absolutely.
And he didn't. So at that point, they went to game 6. They could have folded.
Yeah.
But they didn't. Chris Middleton came out, balled out. Drew Holiday has kind of had his issues when it came to shooting in the playoffs, but he's shown when it matters, I can go to the hole and use my body to get some space and get a bucket. Giannis, and like everything that I mentioned, just from the stars in the game, I think that it's better at this point in their careers for Giannis to get to his first final and go up against the Suns. Plus, I do think that I think either way, Suns or Clippers, it's not a sure thing that the Bucks are going to win.
Yeah, right.
I think that it would be better suited for the Suns because they have a DeAndre Ayton who's going to make Brook Lopez work. They have a Devin Booker who could go off. And that's going to take Drew Holiday, or Chris Middleton is going to have to guard him. Now, if Chris Paul comes back, then that's going to take another defender to them where someone's going to have to try to put. I still think that it would probably be better for Drew to try to guard Dev, just from a body of the body standpoint. But at that,
Drew's an amazing defender.
But at that point, who's going to guard Chris Paul? Because I know you're not doing that to Chris Middleton.
Yeah, so but see, that's
other person.
Yeah, mm-hmm. Go ahead.
It's a matchup. It's one of those things where matchups. I can see the Suns having better matchups. Where on the flip side, if it was the Clippers, who's matching up with Giannis?
Yeah. So, to your point, so I've watched. I'm glad you mentioned this because they played ever since Kawhi's been in there, they've had some nice battles. Let's just say that the Clippers and the Bucks, right? And the first time they ever played last year, the Bucks like destroyed them, and then after that stopped happening. And then they had the close game. Then Giannis kind of took over defensively, and then they got Rondo, and then the team wound up playing them again. And I remember I was chatting with everyone. I was like, "Yo, the Clippers just literally they just took the game in the fourth quarter. Like they literally look. It's like when a team just takes over the game or takes over the Clippers just completely took over the Bucks. And so me and the homie Tari, and we were talking about this, and I was like, bro, not saying they can't win, but it's almost like with all these injuries and the history of Kawhi and Giannis, it's like if the Bucks and Clippers in the NBA Finals, right, and they played, let's just say that both teams get past their respective, teams. I'm not making any excuses, but it's almost like we know Kawhi's not going to be 100%. If I'm Giannis, you have to take advantage of that, right? You have to take advantage of that. But the best thing I think with them is the Clippers have so much depth, and the emergence of Paul George could be the greatest thing that ever happened to them. You know what I'm saying? He even played pretty well last game, and that was without the rest, pretty much. So I think it's going to be very interesting. I think those are good points. But with them, they've never had a team that plays that necessarily plays well against dominant bigs. You know what I'm saying? But then they have guys when you put in Boogie Cousins they need to be playing tonight. But anyway, Boogie Cousins, and then that changes the entire outlook. Brook Lopez will foul out, and it's crazy. I think defensively, the Bucks have more defensive firepower. And guys like PJ Tucker, and guys like even Giannis, and guys like Drew Holiday, and some other guys that they have Bobby Portis, and they really have offensive firepower. Because the Clippers, we know they're going to get a lot of threes. And, you think you're going to take the threes away from us? Kawhi Leonard is not going to sit up there and take bad shots. He's going to make sure he takes efficient shots in mid-range. Paul George can get to the hole now, and he's going to take mid-range. So that's why I always say, the two-way wings, you're very familiar with. There's many ways you can win a championship, bro, but the Jordan Pippen blueprint is the only way that's won the most. And I always think of that over the dominant big. So, I think it's interesting. And I was going to say something for the sake of time, 2 minutes on this, because I wasn't sure if you wanted to mention it. And I didn't want to really go too long in a soliloquy on this. But with Giannis, because I know you're kind of talking about Giannis, I wanted to talk about, if it's okay, Giannis Antetokounmpo, I think he should be lauded and applauded for if he wins the championship, how he went about it. In an era of super teams, this dude stood on the square and decided hey, I want to stay, re-up with my team, improve my game. Yes, there's still facets of the game he should improve. He stayed with Milwaukee, allowed the GM to be the GM. You mentioned in the preseason to me, they brought in Drew Holiday. They brought in Bobby Portis, which I wasn't expecting. They brought in PJ Tucker via trade. So they actually made 3 key additions, and those 3 key additions could lead them to prosperity. So I think Giannis sticking it out with Milwaukee, and if he can just get to the NBA Finals, I think that should be applauded. So, yeah, man.
Yeah, actually, I'm proud of that whole situation of them getting there.
It's different.
Especially in a position where now we're not going into it with the same issues that we normally have when it comes to these Milwaukee Bucks teams. So I'm kind of looking forward to seeing what happens. Game 2 for the Clippers is coming on in about 15 minutes. So yeah, it's gonna be an interesting Eastern and Western Conference Finals, man. Right. But we'll switch some gears up, slide over to some NFL football. We're gonna see if we can get to two top 2 NFL topics. If not, just gonna chop it up with the one. Wanted to kind of we've been doing a little bit of top 5s We did quarterbacks, wide receivers, running backs, DBs, pass ins. Um, so I'm trying to see. We're gonna do this week. We're gonna do top 5 offenses. Next week, top 5 defenses. So I'm gonna let you go first.
All right.
5
So
offenses.
in this particular scenario, with the top 5 offenses, I wasn't sure how. Well, I had a way I wanted to do this, but then I was like, there's so many different ways you can define it. So it's like, what is the definition of a top offense, right? Is it volume? Is it scoring points per game? But that could be predicated based off a team, having a poor defense and having to, just put up a lot of points. Is it efficiency, which I think my team will be more efficient this year because they run the ball very well and now they added pass catching weapons. So for me, when I look at the top 5 offenses, I just decided to go with teams that, can score our high octane offenses. That's first, right? So you should be able to have multiple ways where you can wind up scoring the football, be able to play from behind, and be efficient as well as have playmakers. So this one is actually, I'm going to give you, I believe, all the top 5 offenses, but I'm not really going to necessarily put them in order definitively because, we haven't got preseason and things like that. But these are just what I believe are going to be offenses that are in that top 5 as the season progresses. The first one, I'm going to start off with the Green Bay Packers. The Green Bay Packers actually last year, they were number 1 in points per game, but they didn't have this horrific defense, right? So they actually had a relatively solid defense, okay? They have a dominant playmaker in Devontae Adams, who last season was the clear-cut best receiver in the NFL based off of statistics, his matchups. He dominated every single true number 1 corner in the NFL last year. They continued that play all the way to the NFC Championship game in a dogfight versus the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And also, as we talk about Aaron Rodgers and the greatness of Aaron Rodgers and the greatness of Devontae Adams, whose route running was so crisp that it made Ocho Cinco cry, right? We tend to forget that they have Aaron Jones, who Aaron Rodgers said himself is pretty much like the most important piece, the most valuable piece, of that offense. Or not necessarily those words, but he's so valuable in that locker room. That's what the guys say as a team collectively. He can catch passes, he can run, he's great in the red zone. So I think they can kill you in so many different ways, and Aaron Rodgers can kind of be cerebral. The next offense that I'm going to go with the Kansas City Chiefs. Patrick Money Mahomes. It's a high octane offense. You're not going to see a lot of the red zone situations and percentages. You'd be like, why their numbers seem so low? It's because, and you can attest to this, Ralph, as Raiders fans, they don't do a lot of red zone plays. Like, what? They do a lot of 50-yard bomb plays. So that's why the stats will never show the red zone statistics being so great, because they kill you in one play, and that's the scariest thing. You always have to be on your P's and Q's. So Patrick Mahomes, another dual threat quarterback. Travis Kelce, I've still yet to see a linebacker be able to defend him. You have to put a safety on him like a honey badger, like the safety you guys got. Like you have to put an athletic, strong safety on him. Tyreek Hill, I don't need to tell you his resume. You know what I'm saying? They can plug and play. And I wanted to go with Andy Reid. Andy Reid is a mastermind of play calling. They do shovel passes at the red zone. It's everything I want the Ravens offense to be. All right, and then number 3, I'm going to go with, and I said it's not in order, but I'm going to go with the Baltimore Ravens because you have a dynamic quarterback that you have to account for. Lamar Jackson, he's so dynamic that they talk about the run game, but he is the catalyst for the run game. Not that they have 4 running backs behind there, but J.K. Dobbins and Gus Edwards, but he opens up the offense even more, right?
Right.
Then we always said that with the Ravens, it's can they play from behind? Well, now you brought in a receiver and Rashad Bateman, Tylen Wallace. You have Sammy Watkins. You have Hollywood Brown. So I think that offense is potent, and they led the league in scoring before. Then the next offense that I had was the Tampa Bay Buccaneers with Tom Brady. And you have Mike Evans, Gronkowski, Howard, Antonio Brown, Chris Godwin when he comes back. You have Leonard Fournette back there. And I think for them, the reason why I didn't put them lower at like 5 was because I'm thinking of Ralph the next year, this next season coming up, having another year under their tool belt. And I think that's what scares everyone. We talking about all the defensive pieces that come back, but now Tom Brady knows the playbook. They're not just going to be running 4 verticals like they did in the first half of the season under Byron Leftwich. You know what I'm saying? So I'm going to put Tampa Bay there. Their running game isn't as high octane as the Baltimore Ravens. And I didn't even mention Clyde Edwards-Helaire with the Kansas City Chiefs and how dominant he was before the injury, right? So that's why I had to put the Chiefs in that top 2. They could be number 1. And then finally, for number 5, I was like, man, do I want to go with the Tennessee Titans? Do I want to go with the Tennessee Titans? Do I want to go with the Tennessee Titans? And Derrick Henry. But then I remember they got shut down in the playoffs. And I said, no, I'm going to go. And I know the guy Julio Jones. I'm going to go with the young bull. I'm going to go with the young bull. Kyler Murray, man. Kyler Murray. A.J. Green. Christian Kirk. DeAndre Hopkins. They run a lot of plays. So this is a high-volume offense, so they're going to run a lot of plays, spread offense. And I think it's going to be cool. So, sake of time, those are my top 5, man.
What's your so do a recap on it?
All right, so I had the Green Bay Packers as my 1. I had the Kansas City Chiefs as my 2. I had the Baltimore Ravens as my 3. I had the Tampa Bay Buccaneers as my 4, and I had the Arizona Cardinals as my 5.
All right.
Yeah, that's kind of potent, man.
I think that's a pretty solid. I think that's a pretty solid 5, man.
I think you can interchange 3 through 5.
I got mine are a little different. When it comes to 1 and 4, I do not have the Packers and Buccaneers on my list.
Ooh, okay.
Mine, I'm gonna switch some things in and out. Yeah. But so obviously for obvious reasons, I got the Chiefs. And it's kind of hard to argue. And when I start this off, I do want to kind of say, when it comes to the ability to create offense and these offenses, it comes from a coaching is one stat is one thing I'm thinking about. The ability to control the clock.
Okay.
Is another thing. Able to finish games. Mm-hmm. Can you finish games?
Right.
You need a score. Can you get an explosive play as well? So that's where I start going down these lists, and that's where these people, where my picks come from.
Okay.
I do have 2 sleeper teams. I'm gonna throw them in at the end.
Okay.
Let me ask you your sleeper. But I got the Chiefs for all the obvious reasons. Big playability, rarely ever in the red zone. Have no one to guard Kelsey, although a lot of people think the joystick is the problem, but it's Kelsey is what makes the offense move the chains. Mm-hmm. That red zone target, that chain mover, and Tyreek, Hardeman, and Clyde Helaire being able to come out of the backfield, just that whole entire package, along with Mahomes, who can make all of the throws. This man was parallel to the ground and threw a ball 40 yards. A dart hit my man right in the face. He drops it. What quarterback is able to do that?
Right.
So then after that, your boys down in Baltimore got J.K. Dobbins, Hollywood Brown, Sammy Watkins, Mark Andrews, and then the addition of Rashad Bateman, who I do think that he's going to be able to come in day 1 and be able to make an impact. Not even at this point, I haven't brought up like Lamar Jackson, who was a weapon in itself.
Yeah.
As much people as want to talk about his ability to throw the football, they ignore the fact that over the last couple of years, he's been in one of the top quarterbacks throwing touchdowns.
Yeah.
They just want to look at the fact that, well, he's a running quarterback, so they assume that wide receivers don't want to play for him because he doesn't throw the value. You're still going to get your touchdowns. It's just a matter of I'm not going to be throwing the ball 30, 40 times unless I have to.
Yeah, he's gonna be more efficient with this year. At least everything looks like it should be more efficient this year.
Exactly. So then after that, keep it in the division. We'll go with the Cleveland Browns. We'll see. We'll see. We'll see. Can Baker build on what he did last year, as well as being able to bring back Odell Beckham Jr. into what they're doing? In theory, you would think, all right, cool. If he was able to do this, I plug this person here from a talent perspective.
Yeah,
this person is more talented than this person, so it should work. But that's where the whole if can these people coexist type of thing. You're able to control the clock,
right?
With Chubb and Hunt. Hunt being able to catch the ball out of the backfield. J.Ü.K, Jarvis Landry, Austin Hooper, Odell Beckham coming back from injury. You're going to be able to move the chains. Now, at this point, are you able to take your offense and be able to get those 30 to 50 yards down the field? Can you have those explosive plays? And that's where I think they'll be able to do it. But it also play calling and the defense is one of those things where they're going to get more opportunities to show that part of the offense.
Yeah, and they got a defensive end to go alongside Myles Garrett that's going to really help them as well.
Right. So that's why I have them at 3. Now, this is the part where I had a particular list.
Okay.
Going into it, I was just like, I don't know. I am going to go with the Titans at 4.
Okay. That's solid.
I do understand that we have seen Derrick Henry have some struggles where he can be stopped, but
you have to build a wall. Yeah,
exactly. But I think that if you're doing and building that wall now, AJ Brown and Julio Jones on 2 separate ends, are you able to? If you're going to take that many people to build a wall to stop Derrick Henry, who was a defensive end playing running back, are you able to then guard one-on-one coverage on the back end?
Right.
At that point, you're hoping Tannehill makes the mistake, not your DBs. And I do think that we'll see with them losing tight end Jonnu Smith.
Yeah.
We'll see if they'll be able to replace that production that he was getting as far as a chain mover, because you'll definitely, with those 2 on the outside, be able to have that big play down the field.
Mm-hmm.
It's just whether or not will you be able to move the chains. As far as from in a passing, a third and 6, a 3rd and 7, will you be able to move that chain where you're probably not going to hand it to Derrick Henry for a 3 and 6, a 3rd and 6, a 3rd and 7. So especially with him, will he be able to prolong his career being able to catch the ball out of the backfield?
Right.
Especially now, like I think Adrian Peterson is getting so many chances. He was getting so many chances because he's Adrian Peterson. Where I don't think that someone growing in this era is going to get that many opportunities if they're not able to catch the ball out of the backfield. So with that, I got them at 4. I got the Cardinals at 5. Slew wide receivers. Kyler Murray being able to run the ball. So the one thing that why I initially had them off my list is the running back position. Mm-hmm. I was high on James Conner at one point, but one thing I realized is he's not Le'Veon Bell.
Yeah, and he's injury prone. Yeah.
And he's injury prone. So it's like even his ceiling wasn't what this person's ceiling was. He's just a really good quality back.
Yeah.
But he's not going to win games for you, but he's not going to lose games for you either. And that's pretty much where I think that, but with Kyler Murray being able to will he be able to take his game to the next level, not have so many picks, turnovers, forced fumbles, and things like that. And then for my 2 sleepers, my Raiders, and for the people that don't want to hear about, you're a Raider fan, obviously you're going to think that, I'm going to go with Raiders. And then for this reason, then I'm going to let you finish, and then we're going to close out. I'm going to let you give your sleepers. But so with the Raiders, we have Kenyon Drake, Josh Jacobs. Josh Jacobs is one of the if you all watched the episode where we talked about running backs, I had him as a sleeper running back out on the outside of the 5. But he's not that generational talent at running back, but he is a legit workhorse. He's someone that moves the chains, can catch the ball out of the backfield, but he's just not a dynamic playmaker. Where Kenyon Drake can now be that playmaker who comes out of the backfield on third down. Then at that point, now we get Ruggs is in his second year. Can we expand the playbook when it comes to the route tree that he's running? Obviously, Darren Waller is, in my personal opinion, the third best tight end in the league. You can even argue him being the best tight end in the league, but Kittle and Kelsey have a body of work that prolongs longer than two seasons. So at that point, I'm just going to hand that to them. But going into his third year with higher expectations after having the year he had last year and that breakout year 2 seasons ago, I think that he's clearly the third best tight end and nothing less than the third best tight end. Derek Carr having a career year last year in a John Gruden-led offense. So we'll see what direction they go with that. The Chargers, Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, Justin Herbert is a bona fide stud. Mm-hmm. Him and Joe Burrow is going to be interesting to see where they take their offenses within the next couple of years. What Tua does with Waddle, Hurts with Smith. So it's some good young talent, but I just think that Herbert has the far best situation that you could have walked into. Keenan Allen and Mike Williams are big playmakers. At this point, J.Ü.K is a tight end for hire, but he's still being a very productive pass catcher down the field. And Eckler is kind of falls in that category of James Conner, where it's not he's not going to lose you games, but he's not going to take over a game.
Right.
Good quality starting running back in this league. I'm going to let you say your sleeper, and then we're going to get up out of here, man.
All right, so I got 3 sleepers real quick. One of you actually mentioned the Cincinnati Bengals. People like the Bengals, because I know when a team is on the rise, it's just that they've had some front office issues. And, obviously you got to fix that offensive line. But a quarterback's best friend is their tight end, their contract, and then their receiver. And so they got Jamar Chase. Anytime you get a receiver that you've had a rapport with, man, and won a championship, so you've been through adversity together. Joe Burrow, Tyler Boyd is there. They have another receiver there as well. So I see them in the distance, but they're an underrated sleeper, upcomer. The Raiders is another one that you mentioned. And then I'm going to go with the Rams. Why? Cooper Kupp, model of consistency. It's just the issue is durability. Robert Woods. I continually say that Cooper Kupp and Robert Woods are the most underrated duo of receivers. You get rid of Jared Goff. You put in a high-volume passer in Matthew Stafford, right? And you have an offensive mastermind like you had mentioned about play calling matters. It definitely does in Sean McVay, right? So now he has his signal caller. And then I have the Cleveland is a toss-up. Well, not a toss-up, but the Cleveland Browns. And then a deep, dark sleeper. I'm going to go with the Atlanta Falcons. Yes, they lost Julio Jones, but they feel like they got rid of an older Julio Jones who's in the back end of his career, who's still going to, do well next year. But the final point of the Falcons is they brought in someone who could play both positions in Kyle Pitts. And you have now Ridley. I think he's going to see that transition the way that Julio saw when Roddy White finally graduated. And Matt Ryan is going to find a third receiver somehow with how much he throws the football. So those are the kind of the sleepers for me.
Yeah, man. That was I could definitely see some of those, man. It's going to be an interesting season. I am already excited for football, bro.
Yeah.
Before we get up out of here, man, it's the results are in. The Detroit Pistons get the top pick, followed by the Rockets with the number 2 pick, Cleveland with the 3rd pick, Toronto with the 4th pick, and the Magic with the top 5 with the 5th pick. My Bulls will be giving up that draft pick to the Magic because they keep having us in that 7-8 spot. I don't know what it is, what's going on. I feel like it's conspiracy stuff going on. But make sure you check us out, yo. Make sure you catch us on Instagram. Just type in J.U.K. Boyz Sports Show. I'll catch you on Instagram as well at KYNGRALPH. Thank you all for watching. Peace.